It being 5 o'clock, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Agenda review and disposition.
Madam Chair, we will need the non-public session for the following reasons: to discuss the purchase and sale of real estate, collective bargaining issue, and there's a personnel issue.
And we have several minutes to approve. We have the minutes from December 5th, as well as the public and non-public, which were just passed out. We have the non-public minutes from November 20th also to approve. Unless there are any corrections or amendments, they stand approved as written. Whoop. Yes, Ross?
Why are there two non-public
From November.
for the 20th?
From the 20th, different committees.
A couple of committees went in by
Oh, both
themselves.
went in separately?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm gathering the student is here from civics
No.
class.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. But there's no student report tonight, Madam.
All right.
Because he's tied up with music.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Halloran?
I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that the New Hampshire School Boards Association Delegate Assembly is coming up. I know the chair got a full packet that was sent to her, and also I passed mine along to Mr. Deachman, who has been your delegate for the last 2 years. So it would be appropriate if you wanted to send a representative to that delegate convention, that it be done tonight, because it's in January, sometime in early January, I believe.
Is there
I
anyone?
won't be attending, so,
You will not be attending?
Right.
Oh. Is there anyone who would be interested in going to the delegate assembly?
It's not a requirement.
No.
You just you've had a rep there for a number of years.
it is an opportunity to see school boards at a different level, because there's interaction with the federal government through the meeting that we have in Washington DC every year, and we meet with our congressional delegates, discuss items on the national level. It's an opportunity to meet people from different states and see the kind of issues that they deal with on a regular basis. You'll find that one of the same kind of people I did, that good deal of their time is taken up with discipline issues, unfortunately, and they're having expulsion hearings and that kind of thing, which we've avoided all these years, thanks to the good work of our administration. So anyway, if you were interested, that's a good opportunity. Phil's been, when he was with Inner Lakes, maybe when you were with Laconia, I don't remember.
Keenan.
So,
Well, if anyone decides they are interested in going, please get in touch with me before the, and when is the date? January 21st?
Saturday, January 20th,
20th.
10 a.m. to 3 p.m. At the Government Center. It's not called Government Center Building anymore.
Health Trust Building, or,
Right in Concord.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other issue, Madam Chair, is all the board members got a handout with the dates for signing up, filing dates, Wednesday, January 24th through Friday, February the 2nd. And 5 seats are up, 1 seat each from Ashland, Campton, Holderness, Plymouth, and Thornton. So you have the incumbent names, and then you have the distribution of the seats. So this is the biggest year with 5 seats up, and the next 2 years there will be 4 seats up. So if anyone hasn't got this, we'll just make sure you all get it.
And to let you know if they're interested in running again also?
Yeah, if you're going to run again, we'll get you the form, and also if you're not going to run again, it allows us time to get the word out in the sending communities that there is a seat available on the Pemmy Baker School Board. So it's a ways away. It allows folks time to think about it, and appreciate it.
All right. Mr. Parsons?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just brief. Last week, we inducted 37 new members into the National Technical Honor Society. It was a great ceremony. I know there were a couple of school board members there I saw under the direction of Lena McLean, who did an outstanding job of getting the kids prepared for that. We had a welcoming news in the automotive program. We competed this year in a state tournament. There were approximately between 20 and 25 schools that competed, and we made the top 5. 2 of our boys were in the top 3. One of the students scored the highest on the exam that they've had. Both those students, Thais Silver and Dylan Hickson, are representing Plymouth Regional High School with Kevin Stoll, the automotive teacher. And if they continue to go on, they'll represent the state of New Hampshire in the national tournament that's held in New York City. It's quite a feat for Mr. Stoll and his automotive program, the Autos 2, to have 2 kids score that high. So kudos to Mr. Stoll and his program. Chorus tonight, it won't be in the auditorium. If you look at the gym, it's a completely different setup. So this is brand new for us tonight. He's got well over 120 kids in the chorus and maybe close to that in the band. So it'll be a little different for us. So we're looking forward to see how that works out. That's at 7 o'clock. Obviously next door, the boys are partaking in their championship dinner. And I had a full faculty meeting today. We're really progressing extremely well on the continuation of the NEASC. Today, a lot of the committees wrote part of their recommendations that they need to move forward with. And as I see them, I will bring them forward to the board and keep you in the loop on that. And we have a half day on Friday, and we're good to go. Unless there's questions for you, Madam Chair.
I guess not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee progress report, facility.
I worked very hard, obviously my trusty assistant, have your fact book for your budget hearing. I did something like this.
Pass that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Good news. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
As you peruse that, if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to call my office, Mr. Allen.
All right, facilities.
It's all right.
Right, so the facilities committee met, and there was no change to their agenda review. The November 20th minutes were approved as written. Project update for CTE. Mr. Halloran reported that Mr. Francis, the architects, and CCI are currently reviewing the final layout and renovation priorities in the building and the cost specifications. The project is on track for demolition after February vacation and finishing a little later in the fall with the least impact on the students. Land purchase, sale discussion, Mr. Halloran discussed the possibility of selling the Highland Street lot and purchasing the abutting lot to the high school that is for sale. It was requested that Mr. Halloran review the restrictions for the Highland Street lot and have further discussions with the full board this evening. Fiscal year 19 budget draft number 2, impact items. The tractor and interest payment, Mr. Halloran reported that it has been revised, removing a 1.2 teacher FTE, $15,000 for a park and rec tractor, and $30,000 in interest, bringing the assessment increase down to 2.8698%. There were no other business. Non-public session there was not, and January 22nd is our next meeting.
Questions?
Madam Chair, I have the copy of the deed that we talked about in committee. This is appropriate time to talk about potentially restrictions on. I think the discussion of restrictions is a public session matter because it's a public document. So I will pass these around. This is an actual copy of the deed from the transaction in 1996.
policy and budget.
Did you want to?
Oh, I'm sorry, did you?
I just wanted to, so that everyone, when
Oops, I'm
when we do talk about market value, that you understand if there is or isn't a limitation on this. And I would defer, we have two attorneys, I would defer to both of them in terms of what they see as a restriction. Again, this is not professional advice, it's just someone reading it more knowledgeable than I.
The impact, though, in our discussions probably should be in non-public session.
Yes, yeah.
So you ready for policy and budget?
I am, please,
Okay.
thank you.
So we met following facilities. We had an agenda review and disposition. We had approved the minutes of November 20th. We went, Mark indicated that audit had come in. The audit shows no concerns from the auditors, and they commended Jen Samwon on a great job in her first year. The next item was the Ashland School District SAU Memorandum of Understanding. We deferred that until the end of the budget process. That brought us to draft budget number 2, which has been alluded to in the facilities committee report. The bottom line was that there were three major changes on the appropriation side, and then an accumulation of several small ones, and they totaled $185,000. The issue of the revenue has already been addressed. We had given the superintendent a target of 3%, not to exceed 3%, and they came in at 2.8696 assessment increase. There was discussion regarding it, mainly over the elimination of a full-time social studies teacher. The superintendent gave a reasoned approach as to why that was chosen, and that he could not get below the 3% without a faculty position. And so after some discussion, it was voted not unanimously well, I guess it was unanimously to send it on to the full board. And so it's being presented to you here tonight as the recommendation of the committee to present to the voters of the district draft number 2 budget, which carries with it a 2.8696% increase in the assessment, having an effect on the individual towns of plus 45 cents per thousand in Ashland, plus 22 in Campton, plus 5 cents in Holderness, 8 cents in Plymouth, negative 23 cents in Rumney, plus 50 cents in Thornton, and plus 48 cents in Wentworth. These, of course, are not all the result of the changes in the budget. Some of them are reflective of changes in the average daily membership and the equalized valuation, which are the two components of the formula by which the budget is spread among the sending member districts. We had gone over the appropriations at a prior meeting. There was discussion about whether there was any need to go any further. We're satisfied that the administration has done all they can do on the appropriation side without draconian cuts, and we appreciate the efforts of the administration, both Mark and Bruce and his staff, with respect to trying to help us reach our goal. Some of you asked last night with respect to our history. During the last 10 years, we've had 1 year that we did not meet our goal, and that was 2015-16, and neither Mark nor I, off the top of our heads, can remember why that year was out of whack. I don't know whether you got a copy of this that was sent around, but in any event, it is out there. Other than that, we've averaged including that year, we've averaged over the last 10 years 1.36 increase in the assessment line. And I guess, or the taxes, tax bill is,
No, that's the assessment.
line,
yeah.
okay.
That's the only thing we can control.
okay. So that's being brought to the full board with the recommendation of the Budget Committee to go forward with draft number 2 at the hearing on January 3rd? January 2nd, sorry.
So all those in favor of that motion coming from,
I'd like to, a discussion, can we, or is this the time for discussion for that? Is there-
yeah, oh
Okay.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, okay, I just wanted Ross to finish before I mention anything, and I just wanted to put it out there that I don't feel comfortable with this draft, I don't feel comfortable with the cutting the FTE. I don't think it's good policy, and I know we're trying to stay below the 3% increase, but our legislators are cutting our state aid so drastically that that will become draconian cuts if we're not careful. And I think we need to be talking to our legislators and convincing Concord that this is not working for all these schools that are having to deal with this. So I just wanted to say that I'll be voting against it. I don't feel comfortable with it before we put it out to vote.
Okay.
Madam
Thoughts?
Chair, if I could follow that comment. There is a bill in this year's legislative session to freeze the stabilization, so the cuts would no longer continue at 4% a year. That's what's really driving some of the large increases in assessment that you see. And, in the assessment that goes out to the town after the state aid. And so when we get that House bill number, we will pass that along so you can talk to your local reps. If that bill passes, then we would be frozen at the level that we're at now. And that's certainly better than getting another 4% cut, another 4% cut. I think it plays itself out all the way to 2032, when that entire column then would be eliminated. And you looking at your assessment sheet, you can see education adequacy, 2.237 million. That will all disappear into the local property tax if the stabilization plays itself out. So the stabilization cut. So I mean, when you hear 2032, you think, well, that's a long way away, but it really isn't, and that's what's potentially heading toward the local tax rates.
Can you just clarify class size, like the class size now with the current staffing versus the class size next year with the anticipated student enrollment?
They'll be, I'll have them up around 20 to 24.
Students per
And yeah,
class?
right now, depending on the course, the level, the twos, I've kept it between 12 and 15. They'll increase to 20. And the threes will increase to 24, 25.
State standard is 25, so we would feel uncomfortable if we were recommending something was above the state standard, but we're below the state standard.
And Ross, the total total budget that we're proposing. That's the 14,542,519.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the default budget is $14,491,024, which is only savings of $50,000.
Any other questions, comments? Sam?
Yeah, just a comment, because I think we had some good discussion last night, and people asked some really good questions, and I went back and thought about things, and I always try and remind myself that our job is to not run the school, it's just to make sure that the school is well-run. And so this board asked the administration to reach a certain target. How they get there is really up to the administration, and as long as it's within the range of reasonableness, people can disagree about whether that's the best thing to do or whether it can be done other ways. But the way I look at it is in terms of not micromanaging. That's an administrative decision as opposed to a board decision. So that's,
All right, we ready to vote? All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? And abstaining? All right, thank you.
Finishing up with the policy and budget minutes. We had the warrant articles presented to us, and I guess, did you change it, Mark?
I haven't changed anything.
Okay. So it did not have, obviously, we're going forward, electing tonight to go forward with this proposal, or we're going to do something, anything else?
They know, I spoke to them.
You can,
You want to go to non-public to discuss it?
no, because of public matter. I think we have until, we need to show up at the budget hearing with all of the numbers and all the articles. So you do have some time. If I get that number, a few hours prior to the hearing, I just plug the number in and run the copies for that evening. The budget hearing is just handing out the budget that night. The next step is posted a long way prior to the meeting.
Okay.
So we have some flex on that warrant article. We have some flex on all the remaining warrant articles.
That's
So-
on Article 4. We're
Yes,
talking, the
yes.
support staff agreement.
Yes.
So the way the warrant stands at the moment is that Article 1 is to authorize the school board to negotiate and execute tuition contracts with sending districts. Usually it's Warren, Waterville Valley, Ellsworth, and an occasional student from another district that we have a better program for, or a better environment for. Second one is to authorize special education borrowing. That's if we have to get a student who comes in after our budget process and is going to be usually an out-of-placement student, although occasionally it could be a student within the district because of the heavy demands that student places on the finances of the school, and allows us to borrow up to $104,000, representing the portion that we would get from the state of New Hampshire for reimbursement, which we wouldn't get until the following year. So it's just a bridge to enable us to educate that student that one year and then get reimbursed the following year. We have a school board contingency fund of $1,000. This is to cover matters that are nowhere in the budget but come up and need the school board to act on them. The next item is the approval of the support staff agreement, which is being finalized by our committee. And we'll have those numbers hopefully before the night of the meeting, but certainly we'll have them the night of the meeting if the agreement is finalized by then. If not, it won't be on the warrant. We're considering the purchase of some real property. We don't have the final numbers for that, but we'll be discussing that, and the sale of some real property, which is the next article in our non-public session tonight, and we'll have those numbers out, certainly plenty of time for the hearing. And then we have the operating budget we just discussed, which is $14,542,519. And I read you the impacts of that amount on various towns. And that's it.
Mr. Beechman?
Yeah.
On Article 2, if that's voted in the affirmative, are we obligated, up to if we need to?
Yes.
Up to if we need
All set?
So do we want to adopt the warrant article, or we can't adopt it? I guess we can adopt it, these are the, as a home we change.
As written.
Yeah, we can always change, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the committee is recommending that this be the warrant for the 2018 meeting.
subject to the only change with the,
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining, so unanimous.
Okay. We went into non-public session to discuss tuition rate negotiations and support staff negotiations. No action was taken. There was no other business. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for January 22nd, although we might have to call a special meeting between now and the public hearing if something
Yes.
develops. Thank you, Janice, for the fine job.
Program and staffing.
Yes, we met last night as well. Reviewed the minutes, standard proof is written. On the agenda, there was a proposal for the PRHS Interact Club, and this item was deferred until after the budget process is complete. Mr. Halloran presented the calendar for the 2018-19 school year, with the first day of school being on September 4th, after Labor Day, due to the CTE construction schedule. The last day of school without snow days would be June 19th in 2019 for students. This is a 187-day schedule for teachers. Mr. Halloran reiterated that the schedule is a one-time only schedule due to the construction. After discussion, a motion was made by Mr. Pettingill and seconded by Mrs. Sullivan to move this calendar as presented onto the full board.
So coming from committee is a recommendation to adopt the school calendar as presented. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
That looks like it's unanimous.
All right. The CTE Center memo of understanding with PSU was on the agenda as well, and we deferred that until after the budget process. And other business, Mr. Halloran reported that one student is requesting permission to participate in winter track. Her parent will provide all transportation and be the chaperone at all events. A motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan, seconded by Mrs. Noyes, to move this onto the full board for approval. The vote was unanimous.
So coming from committee is the permission to grant the one student permission to enter into winter, or to represent Plymouth Regional High School on the winter track team. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous again.
And future meetings, it's to be determined? Okay. All right, and then we adjourn, and that was all I had.
Thank you. Anything from SCC to report on?
Nope, just our next meeting is Monday, February 5th. We won't be meeting in January because it happens to fall on the holiday.
Thank you. Discussion items? Anything, Mr. Halloran?
No, I'm all set, Madam Chair.
Board member concerns?
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Can I just get clarification when our next meetings are in January what?
January 2nd, Tuesday, right after the new year, we'll have a regular board meeting and then our budget hearing that night.
Okay, all right.
And then regular board committee meetings on January the 22nd. That's the Monday. And then a full board meeting on the 23rd.
Correct.
Thank you.
Well,
Do I hear a motion to go into non-public for purchase and sale of real estate, collective bargaining, and personnel? We're seconded by Bernie?
Yes.
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 Ross?